Hey, it is Free Talk Live, and we will take your calls and thoughts about whatever you want to discuss. All you have to do is dial in toll-free here, and the number for you is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We do have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms available to you as well, so jump into our Discord server at discord.lrn.fm. Here in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Johnson.
And, of course, you can bring up anything that you want. I saw something in the news today. It was actually getting passed around one of the local chat groups that we have here in the area for cryptocurrency fans. And I would say, I think I can speak for you, Johnson, we are fans of cryptocurrency. Here on Free Talk Live. Of course, Johnson, you accept it over at libertyminded.com, which is right. The website and on which you sell the official Free Talk Live branded merchandise.
I accept a whole big variety of crypto over there, probably more than most merchants.
Yeah, a lot of them, and you get a lot of original T-shirt designs as well. That I mean, the Free Talk Live logo was original because you designed it, but it's been around a long time. You've got newer original designs.
That's right. I need to add even more newer. But I've just been ridiculously busy.
Well, that's a good thing. It's a good problem to have. I think that's true for a lot of us here. I know it's certainly true for me. I've been busy calling radio stations over the last... I always call radio stations, but even more in just the last few weeks. There's been a big shakeup at our network where a bunch of their weekend shows are leaving the satellite.
Oh, nice.
And so it's bad for them, bad for the shows, but good for Free Talk Live, because we're going to come close. I'm not sure where the final tally is going to be because it's not completely over yet. And when it is over, I'm hoping we'll have more than 200 stations.
Oh, nice!
I've got my fingers crossed.
Right.
So we got a couple new ones coming on this week, but
it's always nice to be able to say that, say a nice round number, right?
Yeah.
Over.
And I feel like it's been like a decade since we were at 100, so it's maybe taken about a 10-year time frame to get 100 more. So you can bring up whatever you want. In fact, on the way, Johnson, you've got a Border Patrol related story we're going to get into, but a bit of good news here first from Medium.com and Spencer Bogart. I don't know Spencer Bogart, but apparently he is a partner at Blockchain Capital. Now, that is a venture investing company dedicated to crypto and blockchain business, right? So they take venture capital, they invest it in promising startups that want to do cryptocurrency, blockchain-related stuff. For listeners that don't know, Johnson, how would you describe blockchain?
A ledger.
Most of them public.
A public, decentrally stored ledger.
Right, and this is what...
peer-to-peer ledger.
Right, this is what Satoshi Nakamoto designed and developed.
Right.
The secretive, anonymous creator, or creators, we don't know who this person or persons is or are.
Well, it's Craig S. Wright, of course.
This is a man who claims, but has yet to actually prove to anyone that
and who is an awful, terrible person as far as I'm concerned.
Not a good guy. But anyway, blockchain was what Satoshi Nakamoto created, and that's the real technological underpinning behind Bitcoin, behind the world's first truly decentralized cryptocurrency that again has this blockchain, this public ledger that can be looked at by anybody. It's a very interesting technology. Anyway, that's who's behind this story, and they're also the same company that hired Harris Polling to do a poll asking Americans. I think it's Americans. Yes, American adults. So 2,029 American adults were surveyed. That's a decent sample size. Like your typical surveys that you see Pew Research, you see all these research firms doing. It's usually 1,000 to 2,000 people. 2,000 tends to be sort of the considerably large sample size. You don't usually see surveys over 2,000 people, do you? I don't recall seeing it very
rare. And usually, if you do see surveys over 2,000 people, though, it's a lot.
More.
It's
really?
Like one of those ones where it's like a massive survey, but
it's pretty rare.
It's very rare.
Usually, if it's under 1,000, it's that's a little light on the sample size. If it's 2,000, that seems to be a pretty decent sample size. Yeah. So I feel like this is a good sample size. They did this survey apparently online by the Harris Poll from April 23rd through the 25th, and it is They've already done this survey once before. The last time they did it was in October of 2017. Now, you remember what was happening in late 2017 with the Bitcoin price.
That was when there was the issue with the fees, right? I mean,
the issue with the fees, but it was also going
tanking.
insanely expensive.
That was 2017?
October, yeah, it was the end of 2017.
Wow.
December of 2017 was when it hit its peak of nearly $20,000. So October of 2017 the price was about the same as it is now.
Really?
Yeah, if you go and you look at the charts, what is it right now? $5,100, $5,200 for one Bitcoin right now. I checked it just last week.
Right.
Like that sounds like a pretty good number. Let's see when the last time was. When was the first time we hit 5,000? And it was mid-October of 2017, and then it went up to like 6,000 to 9,000 in November, and then it shot up to like 20,000 in December, and then it came down, fell all the way down to below $3,000 in 2018.
Didn't it rise on sort of speculation that there was going to be an ETF, though?
It's risen on speculation of a variety of things. At the time, it was rising on just
pure...
Well,
that's pretty big. That could have had a very big effect.
That wasn't the reason why it went to 20,000. Okay. I mean, that was just pure, it caught fire.
What do you peg as the reason why it went to 20,000?
It just caught on fire. I mean, there were news stories all over the place when it started getting close to 10,000. It had never gone that high before.
Right.
And there was lots more buzz, more talk than there normally would have been about Bitcoin at that time of year. So now we've seen Bitcoin price come down from around $20,000 to as low as $3,000, come back to about $5,400, $5,200 where it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's taken, a year and a half for that.
It's taken a year and a half because Bitcoin is dead. Clearly.
Well... That's a whole other conversation.
Right?
We can get into that, but
there's a website dedicated to all the times that the media has claimed that Bitcoin is dead.
Sure, and I think it's hundreds of times. I think it's at least 300 times in mainstream publications and sources.
And the site also puts the price that Bitcoin was at when they made these claims.
They did. Oh, that's cool. So, and they keep, the haters keep hating.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely the case. Bitcoin's still there. I mean, you could argue that Bitcoin is dead as a currency because its fees are too high, and I think there's a strong argument for that. Bitcoin BTC, the original one. But the point I wanted to make here before we start this story and get you to these very interesting and good news poll results is to just kind of give you a brief history. So again, Bitcoin started at 0 a decade ago, and it has since become the world's cryptocurrency. It's used across the planet. It's especially used in countries like Venezuela, where the money is particularly weak from the government. It's the money there is suffering hyperinflation, and so Bitcoin is a refuge. And other cryptocurrencies like Dash, it's despite how volatile, because that's one of the critiques of Bitcoin is it's volatile.
Yeah.
Well, it's not constantly losing money like the Venezuelan bolivar, so it's way more stable by comparison. So the people in Venezuela, they want to get their hands on it. So if you look at charts from like local Bitcoins, they show you per capita, like who's buying the most Bitcoin in the world. It's Venezuela, Nigeria, and like a few other countries that are not the wealthy countries.
I would love to have studies on these countries because there have been a few other countries that have started like really heavily adopting Bitcoin as well, right? Yeah. Over time. And what happens with these countries? Do they stay on Bitcoin as the preferred crypto? Do they
pick up
does
Dash?
The Bitcoin stabilize their economy and then they stop and switch to something else? Like what
Why
happens?
would you switch away from crypto?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you might switch to a different crypto.
Right. But why would you switch away from crypto? I don't know, and I want to know, is that happening or what seems to be happening?
Well, that's not what this study looked at, Johnson. This study looked at Americans' awareness of Bitcoin and how many of them have it. And there's some surprising and really positive results that are coming out of this. And it's comparing it to the numbers that they got in October of 2017 when that big run-up was happening.
And I heard it's an extremely rare club to have one or more, to have an entire
Bitcoin. I bet it is. 855-450, free like freedom, Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll free here, 855-450-FREE. And actually, according to one of our chatters on the Discord, there may be a coup attempt going on in Venezuela. I just pulled up a news story from Reuters about that. If we get the chance, we will tell you more of what is transpiring, allegedly, down there. We were just discussing Venezuela and their the people there adopting cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Dash for use in real life because their government's currency is absolute garbage. It's the worst in the world, the most hyperinflated on the planet at the moment. So we can continue. We can, bring up anything that you want. You can take control of the airwaves here on Free Talk Live. Ian and Johnson in the studio tonight. We were discussing just barely. I hadn't even really scratched the surface of this story about Bitcoin and a really interesting survey that has just come out with a bunch of questions about people's awareness of Bitcoin or lack thereof, and how many of them actually own in America. How many Americans own Bitcoin? And so we can tell you more about that. Also,
I had heard something about since you were mentioning the Bolivar, and I had heard something, and I would wonder. I would love to actually figure out, and if somebody knows, how, message me, how much it would be to ship something. If anybody has any experience of how much it is to ship something from Venezuela, right? Like if you wanted to order something from someone,
what, like a big thing, a small thing?
I think it would have to be big in order to make it make sense, right? But so what I've heard is that the Bolivar is in fact so worthless that you could package it up and it would have more value as toilet paper. That it's literally actually gotten to the point of where the paper itself would be more valuable if you were selling the Bolivar as toilet paper. Tissue. Yeah.
Well, I know that Daryl previously had ordered some Bolivar, back when it was the Bolivar Fuerte, the so-called strong Bolivar. I don't know, 4 years ago, or something like that. We've got the 2 Bolivar note on the wall here, and I don't think it costs that much to ship a pack of currency. More valuable
as Bolivar Fuego.
Fuego?
Fire.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's the 4th one that they're going to come out with.
Just set it on fire because that's
about all it's good for. Keeping you warm.
Yeah.
At this point, they're on their 3rd iteration. It's the Bolivar Soberano, or the Sovereign Bolivar.
Right. Weren't they going to try and do their own crypto too, like a government crypto?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a whole fiasco. I'm glad you brought that up. Let's do a
Maduro coin.
No, it was called the Petro.
Right. Oh yeah.
The Venezuela Petro. So that's something else we'll check on, because every few months we check on the Petro just to see if it's actually available. Because they've been screwing people around for I think 2 years now. Was it last year?
Right.
No, it's a year ago. So it was February.
Man, I really shouldn't have kept my crypto in that Venezuelan exchange. Damn.
The February 2018 was when the Petro was supposed to come out, and it, as of the end of 2018, had not come out.
It appears the Petro is down 26.3% today.
I don't know how you could even have a price for the Petro, because you basically can't have
the Petro dollar XPD on CoinMarketCap. I don't know if
that can't be the same.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Let's look into it later. So I've got this story here. We're going to get into it about the poll results from a very interesting poll about Bitcoin. All right, but I also want to let you know about, speaking of cryptocurrency, I want you to know about AnyPay. If you are interested in accepting cryptocurrency at your point of sale, if you've got a business and you want to take Bitcoin, BTC, you want to take Dash, maybe Bitcoin Cash, and others, Zcash now as well, shielded transactions even through Zcash, you can do that now with AnyPay. Just go to helpmetakebitcoin.com. They'll get you started. 4-step process, super easy. If you're starting from zero, you've never even had a Bitcoin wallet before, they're going to walk you through it, and it's super easy to get started accepting cryptocurrency at your business. Just go to helpmetakebitcoin.com. They've even gotten rid of accounts. You don't even have to create an account now.
Weird.
It's amazing. Now, you can, I think, still if you want to, but you can just get rolling by punching in your wallet addresses, loading the app. Basically, you download the app, load it up, punch in the wallet addresses, and you're good to go. And they've made it even easier than it was before, and I didn't think it could be much easier than what they've done before. HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com. The tablet app is available for iOS and for Android, so you got your tablet at your cash register. You just load up the AnyPay app there. Go to helpmetakebitcoin.com to get started. As we continue here, Spencer Bogart writing at medium.com. He says, for context, because it's material in considering the results, this survey was conducted in October of 2017, and it was conducted last week. So you've got two different time points, one about a year and a half ago and the other last week. So the one in October 2017, Bitcoin was up 800% at the time over the previous year. Mm-hmm. Now it's down 75% from its record high. So it's in what they would call a bear market. The price has trended downward over the last year and a half.
Although it's been trending up in the past, month.
3 months. Yeah.
3 months.
Yeah. Up compared to 3 months ago,
right.
But still down compared to December of 2017. So looking at those different kind of marketplaces as well, it was going to be interesting to compare them. And as it turns out, in pretty much every category, interest and purchasing and acceptance of Bitcoin, it's up, mm-hmm. all across the board, despite
right.
the bear market. Right. So the bear market hasn't scared people away. If anything, people are still more interested than ever
right.
in cryptocurrency. He says, we suspect that the difference in market environment between two surveys would have a negative impact on Bitcoin sentiment in the most recent survey. But despite the bear market, the data shows that Bitcoin awareness, familiarity, perception, conviction, propensity to purchase, and ownership all increased and improved significantly, dramatically in many cases. The results highlight that Bitcoin is a demographic megatrend. What is that? We'll find out. Led by younger age groups. Mm-hmm. The only area where older demographics matched younger demographics was awareness. Regardless of age, the vast majority of the American population has heard of Bitcoin. The percentage of people that have heard of Bitcoin rose from 77% in October of 2017 to 89% in April of 2019. And they also break all these down by age demographics. Mm. Now, that again was pretty standard across all age demographics. It was like 88% in the older demographic, like the retirees, 65 plus, and 90% had heard. So like no statistical significant difference there. Awareness of Bitcoin is strong across all age groups. Overall, the percentage of people that have not heard of Bitcoin fell by more than half, from 23% in October of 2017 to just 11% in April of 2019. Now, that's just the people who've heard of it. It's not the
right.
ones who know anything about it necessarily. Or own it, right. The percentage of people that are at least somewhat familiar with Bitcoin rose by nearly half. From October 2017 to this month, it was 30% in October of 17, whereas now it's 43%, with with familiarity between those aged 18 and 34 jumping up to 60% from 42%, and even up at the senior range, 20% of seniors are at least somewhat familiar with Bitcoin. The percentage of people who strongly or somewhat agree that, quote, Bitcoin is a positive innovation in financial technology rose 9 percentage points from 34% in October of 2017 to 43% in April of 2019. Of the age demographics, 18 to 34-year-olds, 59% of them agreed with that statement. 59% said that Bitcoin is a positive innovation in financial technology. Some really exciting numbers in the survey. We'll share them with you. More coming up. Free Talk Live. I want to tell you about my favorite cryptocurrency wallet, Edge Wallet, at edge.app. Edge is the wallet I use more than any other, and that was true long before Edge Wallet became a sponsor of Free Talk Live. Edge Wallet allows you to buy, sell, trade, and securely hold your cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, tokens, Monero, Ripple, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and more. It's available for both Android and iOS, and you can download it via the Play or App Store or via Edge Wallet's website, edge.app. Secure your freedom with Edge Wallet. This is Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free and bring up anything that you want. Our number is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Some really surprising, I would say, and positive numbers here from a Harris poll of over 2,000 Americans about their awareness and purchasingness of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. You can share your thoughts with us. 855-450 free. Speaking of Bitcoin, you can go to bitcoin.com. It is your premier source for everything Bitcoin Cash related. Bitcoin.com can help you choose a Bitcoin Cash wallet, buy Bitcoin Cash, and show you where you can spend your Bitcoin Cash. You can read the latest news or engage with the community or even play games over at Bitcoin.com. Learn more at Bitcoin.com. So, sharing some really good news for the world of Bitcoin. The numbers in October of 2017 on this poll were pretty good, but now they're even better after a bear market for basically the last 18 months, essentially. Bitcoin right now is still at a really good price. It's over $5,000 per Bitcoin. If this were October of 2017, we'd all be super excited because this would have been the first time it hit $5,000. It had never been that high prior to October of 2017. And they've done a poll within the last week of people and compared those numbers to the same poll they did in October. So October was when there was this huge run-up. There was all this excitement around Bitcoin. Now things are pretty quiet by comparison. There's not as much vocal, visible excitement, but people are still buying it. People are still interested in it. People are still learning about it. 43% of Americans say Bitcoin is a positive innovation in financial technology. They strongly or somewhat agreed with that statement when asked during the poll. Of course, adults 18 to 34 and 35 to 44 are the real strongest group, with 59% and 50% respectively in those groups saying they agreed with that statement. But even if an increasing percentage of the population has a positive perception of Bitcoin, does that translate to increased conviction in its future adoption? And sure enough, the percentage of people that strongly or somewhat agreed that, quote, most people will be using Bitcoin in the next 10 years, a prediction, that rose 5 percentage points from 28% saying it in October of 2017 to 33% saying it in this month.
So they said that'll be used.
Most people will be using Bitcoin in the next 10 years.
In the next 10 years.
So an optimistic, future-looking statement about the adoption of Bitcoin.
Well, I mean, we better hope that that's faster. I mean, especially if you're John McAfee.
Oh, because he has to get to a certain price point?
He has to get to 100,000, I believe, by the end of next year or something like that, right? I mean, so
yeah, I think he predicted 2021 or 2020 it would hit to. I think he actually first predicted 500,000.
Yeah, 500,000.
But he's since raised it to 1 million.
Yeah, he's since raised it to 1 million. But I mean, I think anybody would, let him off if it only was at 500,000.
Yeah, we'd be all right with that. Of the numbers here, the breakdowns, age breakdowns, 48% of 18 to 34-year-olds agreed that most people would be using Bitcoin in the next 10 years. That's significant because if half of the millennials and the Gen Zs that were surveyed think that in the next 10 years Bitcoin is going to be used by most people, well, that seems like a pretty strong future prediction, given that they are the future, and the future in this case, are saying what they think the future is going to be. Seems like that's a pretty good indicator that Bitcoin's going to keep getting more popular.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's true. Although the caveat to that would be that also a lot of Gen Z are people who have not historically invested in anything, and also don't tend to have a whole lot of money to be able to spend on anything.
Well, there's an interesting statistic that addresses that coming up here, as far as how many of them are actually invested in Bitcoin versus what.
And
they
what
think
does that mean to be invested in Bitcoin?
Good point. A good point. I mean,
like I brought up earlier, supposedly it's extremely rare to have anyone have even a single Bitcoin. And as far as investments go, what Bitcoin's at around $5,000 right now. $5,000 is not large in terms of investments, right? I mean, I guess
they didn't ask that.
I mean, maybe that's not accurate because I guess most Americans don't even have that saved up.
Most Americans don't have enough to get through the next week.
Right.
I mean, they've got credit card debt is what they have. So when we get to those numbers, unfortunately, that's the one question they didn't ask was, of those who are invested, how big is your investment?
I would like to know,
is it 1% of a Bitcoin, 10% of a Bitcoin?
Like, of the average American who has investments, right? Quote unquote investments. What the hell does that mean? What does that mean that to somebody who has investments or who has a stock portfolio?
Well, an investment would generally be something that you've put money into in the hopes that it will give you a return in the future.
What I'm asking is what does that mean? Is okay? What does that amount? If most Americans don't have $3,000 saved up and can't whether through some kind of a financial hardship. Well, then how many Americans actually have investments? What's the Venn diagram there? What does it look like, for an American who has an investment but doesn't have $3,000 in the bank? Like how does that all add up? I mean, obviously, I think we're talking about different people, and I just wonder. I wonder what that overall picture actually looks like of, the average of America. And
well, we can't look at the average, but if an individual wants to call in and tell us, maybe you're a millennial or Gen Z, and you want to tell us about your investing, that might be
especially if you have investments, but yet you still have you're not very well off financially. I would love to hear from somebody who that is. I don't think that person is that's like a unicorn.
I've got some more interesting numbers, but we got to go to the phones here. Let's talk first to Jim. He's in New York. Jim, where are you in New York tonight? Jim? New York? Hello? Jim in New York? Going once? Jim in New York? Going twice? I'll tell you what, I'm going to put Jim on hold. We'll see. Maybe there's a technical difficulty at our network studios. We'll see if Robert's there in Vermont. Robert, are you with us? I'm not hearing Robert. That definitely seems like it. 2 calls in a row. There's probably a slider on the board that's not turned up or a button pushed. So we'll check back with them both here in just a moment. If you're on hold, hang on. We'll check with you. All right, so next statistic here. Despite the bear market, the percentage of people that indicated they are very or somewhat likely to buy Bitcoin in the next 5 years rose by nearly half. Went up from 19% of Americans in October of 2017 to 27% of Americans this month. So more than a quarter of Americans of all ages are saying, on average, they plan to purchase Bitcoin within the next 5 years. Of course, 18 to 34-year-olds, 42% of them.
What the hell are you waiting for?
35 to 44-year-olds, 35% of them. Retirees, 8% of them plan to buy Bitcoin within the next 5 years.
Like, you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. You don't have to save up $5K to get yourself a whole Bitcoin.
It's important that you said that because that's the number one, I would say, objection or point of confusion with Bitcoin. Is if people feel like they have to buy a whole one.
Right.
You don't.
Right.
You can actually buy down to a fraction. I mean, it's probably hard to buy
See, this is how ignorant I am. So when you buy stocks, with stocks, you do have to buy an entire share, right? So like,
I think so.
Yeah. So like, if you're buying a share of, I don't know what a share.
Unless there's some sort of stock sharing organization out there where you can split it up amongst a group of people. It wouldn't surprise me if something like that existed, but I'm not a stock expert either, Johnson. I bought a few stocks when I was like a teenager, just like when E-Trade first came online in the late 90s. I didn't know what I was doing. I bought some. I don't even remember what it was. I bought some stock of some company and it tanked. Yeah, so that was my only stock buy.
But like, for example, it's not like a share of like Alphabet. If you were going to buy a share of Google, essentially,
that would cost what, a few $100? $1,200.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
yeah,
and that's one of the comparisons that I was always thinking about in terms of Bitcoin. Like, I would love to know, like, if you could take one of these stocks and trace it back before all of its splits. If you could somehow figure out how much a stock was worth before it split, like, in other words, recombine all the splits and then find out what the total value of a share is then, that would be kind of interesting to me to know in terms of value of just one particular company.
We got more coming up. Plenty of time for you with your thoughts. If you want to join us on talking about investing or whatever's on your mind, hopefully we'll be able to get to your calls as well. 855-450 free, 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live. It is Free Talk Live. Got good news in the world of cryptocurrency. We are going to continue that. But then we can also check in Venezuela, where apparently there's a attempted coup that at least some are calling an attempted coup, and that has resulted in some pretty horrifying video. Actually, the government here in the U.S., the government gang at the White House has posted one of these shocking videos to the White House Twitter of a armored personnel carrier tank-looking thing basically just running over a crowd of people.
Right.
And so there's some crazy stuff happening there. We can share that with you. Ian and Johnson in the studio tonight. And
Renco will probably use that as their next ad.
It wouldn't surprise me if it is a Lenko. But anyway, it's not the Bearcat, but it looks like a similar kind of thing. So 855, 450.
Look at how effective our vehicles are for
crushing protesters.
For crowd control.
Yeah.
They're terrible. If you've ever actually seen one of their ads, it's
yes, I have seen their.
Yeah. They're just.
They targeted their ad on the Free Keen YouTube channel and took it down with a copyright violation a long time ago, and then of course it spread to other channels after that. It's actually pretty hard to find these days. I did find a copy just for whatever reason. I was thinking about the Bearcat, and I went a couple months ago. I think it was during the wintertime. I went and I managed to find it. Actually, it was still embedded on like a military.com site, like some military website still had the original Lenko Bearcat ad.
Right.
And so I ripped the video down and uploaded it to the library.
I still think one of the best protest ideas I've ever heard, if like it's one of those things where if the Bearcat's out and there's like some sort of mass protest or something like that, just somehow painting it pink.
Pink, yeah. Yeah,
pink it up.
Or if there's nobody inside of it, just, set it on fire. All right, so 855, 450 free. I am told that the board is working correctly now. We're going to jump back into your calls and thoughts. We have Jim in New York. Jim, where are you calling from? Hello? Oh, it's you. You're not allowed to call. Toll-free number is 855-450 free. That's 855-450-3733. That was the crazy guy from New Jersey who's called from like the crazy ward and constantly promotes his own website, even though we've asked him to stop. So we don't ban a whole lot of people here on Free Talk Live, but he's one of two. As we go to Robert, listening in Vermont. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Robert.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Hey, you guys were talking about Bitcoin. I wanted to share an experience I had about today, but also wanted to let you know that there's other cryptocurrencies that are out there that are making, headlines here. Like, for instance, I've seen advertised Stellar Lumina, the little rocket there.
Stellar Lumens, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw another ad where Jaguar and Land Rover is going to square up with IOTA.
I heard that Nike's launching its own cryptocurrency.
Nike coin. Just buy it.
So
just buy it, yeah.
But anyways,
by the way, Robert, I should thank you. You're the one who sent me this story. You posted it today in our local. You live in the area. You posted this in the local crypto chat group, the one with the survey with all the good news about people understanding and purchasing and getting into Bitcoin in the United States. So kudos. What else did you want to share?
Okay, well, anyways, I went over to the local shopping center to pick up supplies, and I brought over a bunch of coins that I have. When I go and I cash in paper money, when I get back to the car, I throw all my change in the center console of my car.
Yep.
And then when it fills up, I separate all the coins, I keep all the copper, and I keep all of the silver, and then what's left over, I put in the Coinstar machine. Well, when I went over the Coinstar machine today, it asks you what you want to do, whether you want to get cash back, choose a gift card, or donate the money. Now there's a new option in there where you can buy Bitcoin.
Now, is this all Coinstars, or is this select Coinstar machines?
It's my understanding that they're in all Coinstar machines.
When I first heard about this story, Johnson, a few months back, I feel it was, late last year maybe, I checked to see where this was getting rolled out, and they started it in the Pacific Northwest, which is where Coinstar is located as far as its company is concerned. So I didn't know how long it was going to be till it came out this way. Apparently it's here, because Robert was at Shaw's in, where were you, Walpole?
Yeah, I was in Walpole, North Walpole.
So I suspect if it's at the Shaw's, in Walpole, it's probably here.
Isn't there a Coinstar like Walmart?
Hannaford. Hannaford has one.
Hannaford has one, okay.
So
I just wanted to let
I'll
people
check
know
the next time I'm there.
I went and I explored this a little bit, and I got to the part where it says, enter your phone number. This number will be linked to your Bitcoin transaction. Mm-hmm. And that was enough to convince me to back out. I don't want them to have my phone number.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of people who don't want to go through the know your customer anti-money laundering questions.
What if you buy like a phone card? I mean,
you mean like a disposable phone, like a throwaway phone?
Yeah,
one of those things.
Use those.
Yeah, you can do that, but then they're going to ask you for ID. So it wasn't just going to be the phone number. I think they started with the phone number. Robert, you didn't get to the ID question, did you?
No, I didn't.
I think that comes next.
The QR code was going to come. I would have scanned it, and I would have just taken, because all the money I brought in, there was no value to it. It was just all slugs to me.
Yeah.
They weren't silver. They weren't copper. So what the hell do I want with them for?
Yeah, unfortunately, Robert, these companies are super compliant to the government gang, and so they all do what they call Know Your Customer, which is where they want your ID. There's a machine in Keene, in downtown Keene. There's 3 Bitcoin vending machines, not including this Coinstar unit.
Right.
And one of them is one that requires you to give up a phone number. And if you do what you're suggesting, Johnson, which is actually what Bob tried to do, one of your coworkers where you work, when he was the first person to actually use that machine, because we went in and he was the first buyer. And he was pretty shocked when they asked him for his phone number, so he gave his phone number, which is one of those prepaid kind of phones.
Right.
And then because it was a prepaid phone, they have some way of telling, some database or whatever. Because it was a prepaid phone, even though he was only buying like, $20 worth of Bitcoin, a very small amount, they then asked him to show his ID.
Well, I wonder if you're saying that that's as a consequence of using that prepaid phone number.
In that case, in the case of the Coinstar, I think they ask everybody for ID.
Yeah. Okay. So
in the case of the machine in question, if you buy between, I don't know, like 0 and 300 or 0 and 150, there's like a certain range where they'll just ask you for a phone number unless it's a prepaid phone. Okay. If you go above that number, you always have to show ID at that machine. So that's unfortunate. Or once you've shown ID, you can just punch in your phone number and it has you in a database, so you don't have to show ID the second time, as I understand it. But still, it's all about the Know Your Customer requirements. These are legal requirements. That
I wonder what the punishment is. That would be the next question. What would be the punishment for? I mean, clearly there's a punishment for having a fake ID, but what if you're identifying to one of these machines with a fake ID? What's the consequence of that?
I don't know. If they could catch you about it, I don't know. I suppose there's another. I don't think it does this, but I know there are machines that are like super invasive, where they want a palm print.
Right. Yeah.
Where they'll take your picture as well. So then if your picture doesn't match the one on the ID, maybe then you could get caught up in something. Yeah. But if all they're scanning is just the ID, then that could be a way to get around it. But anyway, Robert, thanks for sharing that news with us here tonight, because that's a big story, and thanks for the call. The fact that Coinstar, which is, no slouch as far as its distribution, I mean, those things are all over the place. I think the number I saw was at least 2,000 locations across the United States. These are big locations, like Walmarts and grocery stores and wherever else. A lot of people use these machines because if you don't have a bank account, you basically have to use Coinstar, because some banks have these types of machines in the actual bank branches. And if you're a bank customer, then you can come in and there's no fee for you to use. That's the best way to do it. If you got a bunch of coins, the best way to have it cashed out is to just go to your bank and have them take care of it. And then they don't take a fee off the top. It's just a service as a customer. But for the unbanked, Coinstar is the way you do it. They take like a 7% fee, which, considering the amount of time that you save, if you're not rolling the quarters. Have you ever done this, Johnson, where you get those old paper rolls and you have to load the quarters? It's a huge time-consuming process. This takes away all of that, and it only charges 7%. I don't think that's unreasonable.
There are some machines you can get that'll do it. Just dump a handful of change into
a smaller machine. You can pay for a machine for your house that will help you with that process. But you're still having to stack them. You're still having to count them.
And you have to, generally with those machines, load it in kind of slowly so that it can
And even then, you still have to then take them somewhere, like to a bank, in order to get them turned into cash.
It's interesting. Supposedly, I'm seeing here a story about this. The CoinMe company. The CoinMe is the company, the first state-licensed Bitcoin ATM company in the United States, announced a partnership with Coinstar. And apparently, U.S. customer or users are now able to purchase up to $2,500 worth of Bitcoin. Now, I wonder if that means at a single transaction or collectively.
Good question.
So if they're tracking people, maybe they can only buy up to,
There may be a time limit, maybe per day, per week, who knows.
Yeah.
The toll-free number, this is not the best way to buy Bitcoin.
No.
But it's a visible thing. People are going to see that Bitcoin logo, and they're going to start wondering about it, and that's good. More coming up. Free Talk Live.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agorist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agoristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agorist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agoristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agoristhosting.com.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. We're launching into the second hour of the program. As always, you're invited to take control of the airwaves here. Our number is 855-450 free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. On the way, we've got the news about Venezuela. Some are alleging that there is a coup attempt afoot and has been afoot for the last, I don't know, sounds like the last day. I'll tell you more about that coming up with you tonight. By the way, it's Ian.
And Johnson.
Also, still in the midst of some really good news for the world of Bitcoin. Very, very interesting poll results coming from a Harris poll of over 2,000 adults in the United States as to where they are with their opinions and their ownership of Bitcoin. And we'll continue with some of those interesting statistics. We've been through a good chunk of the story, and then we'll get into also border guard related lawsuit, Border Patrol in the United States.
Yeah, so actually I had found a story, and then I found another story, and then I realized that both of these stories are based on, just figured this out just now, like literally, that both of these stories are based on a press release from the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and I pulled up that press release. And I think that's the best source because that's kind of the original.
Go to the source. We'll do that. And that's a good source to go to as well, EFF. Yeah. So we'll get into all that here. Your calls and thoughts are welcome. Let's go to the phones where Justin is calling us, listening in Montana, actually watching us on D-Live. Hello, Justin.
Hi, how are you?
Good. You're on the air.
Awesome. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect. Oh, yeah, well, I just heard you saying, you want to talk to maybe a millennial or a Gen Z that is into cryptocurrencies and maybe doesn't have a lot of money in the bank, compared to what some people might think.
Yeah, Johnson was asking questions about young people's investments.
People, that if you have investments but you don't have a lot, I don't know, like
a bunch of money.
Investments.
Cash poor but investing.
Yeah.
Right, of course. Yeah, and absolutely. And so, I discovered cryptocurrency, Bitcoin specifically, initially, about a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
so right when it was running up, a year and a half ago would have been the big run-up.
Okay, a little less. I was just after the dump.
Oh, okay.
So right after it went down, I read some Jerry Banfield article or something, and, it kind of sparked my interest. So I started looking into it and busted my brain for a couple of months and then started investing. And, one thing I could say for people is, don't think you have to go in and buy a whole Bitcoin or buy a whole bunch of stuff, because really you can go in and, maybe you only make a few $100s every paycheck. Put $10 of it in a cryptocurrency, a Bitcoin or Litecoin or something like that, because, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, you might wake up and see these cryptocurrencies beyond the moon and be like, hey, I've got like
$1 million.
I'm going to go back and $1 million or something crazy, So
it could happen.
Hurt you to learn a little bit about it and invest in it a little bit. You don't even have to look at it like an investment. It's just kind of a good idea, I think.
Well, I mean, it is. You're investing in that you hope that it will go up in value, but not all investments work out. Hopefully, this one will.
Right.
It's called dollar cost averaging, is what I understand. I'm not a
absolutely.
I'm not an investor. I'm not a professional at this or anything like that. But one of our co-hosts, Johnny Ray, in the past, he recommended this approach where you just take the amount you can afford to lose. That's the most important part of this. That's why you said only $10, $20, whatever it is. Whatever you would have gone out and blown at the bar or on a movie or some sort of thing that you could have lived without, right? Like you could afford $5 or $10 because that's what it would cost you to go to Burger King,
Right.
So you skip
Well, you
Burger
pay more
King
than that in
and you
taxes
buy some
anyway.
crypto. And then maybe later on you can buy your own Burger King, with the amount of money that the crypto accrued to. So how have you done so far?
Yeah.
You got in right after the peak, so you must be pretty happy so far.
Yeah, I invested. Well, not invested. I researched a lot before I even got in, and I did pretty good. I actually learned how to make money as it was crashing. And I kind of had a knack for it. And so, I didn't make a ton of money or anything, but I've, tripled my initial investment that I put in and maybe then some. But then I bought some crypto miners. I learned all about that. So I mine Litecoin. I run a node for the Litecoin network. So I believe in supporting the networks. I really believe in blockchain technology.
Cool. Are
and
you
also some of
when
the
you made
alternate
some money on
blockchain
it, did you
technology.
cash some of it out and kind of take your
Absolutely
profits?
not. I reinvested.
Okay, so you're all in.
Into miners in this case.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean it's fun. It's fun for the brain. It's a good workout for the brain to learn about this stuff, as it seems super complex on the outer layer, but once you look at it, you're like, okay, if you want to talk about the algorithms and things, sure,
Yeah.
it's complicated, but at the base layer, it's kind of common sense on how things should work. It should
Right.
be trustless. It should be transparent.
I want to go back to some of the
Absolutely,
original questions. So, that I had. So, in terms of do you own any stocks? Have you
estate.
done any
No,
other investing? Do you own any real estate?
And how old are you?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just turned 26. I've
Wow.
never bought a stock. Me and my wife are, buying a little trailer. We live in Montana, it's what we live in out here. And, nothing special, man. I work. I'm a painter, and I listen to cryptocurrency stuff 6
That's
hours
awesome.
a day while I'm at work with my headphones in, and
That's awesome.
I just cram my brain full of this stuff, and there's lots of other interesting projects that are coming up that are honestly going to change the way we look at cryptocurrency.
So then the last
bit-
question, and this is a personal one, so you can tell me to pound sand if you don't want to
Absolutely.
answer it. But the thing is that the average American wouldn't have $3,000 in the bank to deal with a financial hardship.
Absolutely.
Are you in that group, or would you be able to weather a financial hardship because you have enough in savings
Outside of
Yeah,
crypto.
outside of crypto?
On a regular basis, I don't have $3,000 in the bank. Absolutely not.
Interesting.
On a regular basis, I'm lucky to have $1,000 in the bank. I mean, life comes at you every
Right.
day from 10 different directions, and I mean, in real life, a lot of guys don't have $1,000 in the bank. You might not be able to fix that tire. You might not be able to, go buy a new part for your car, or let alone buy a toy.
Right.
But
Do you have
a lot of
$1,000
it
worth of Bitcoin at this point, or cryptocurrencies combined after a year and a half?
Yeah, definitely, and it depends on how you look at it. In 5 years, it might be a heck of a lot more than that.
It may be. We all hope it will.
Like I said, I reinvested into some miners, and
Yeah.
so they're quiet miners, they're in-home miners, and they don't make a lot of noise. They don't gain a lot of money either, but those little bits that they do gain every single day while I'm sleeping, while I'm working.
Is the
as long as I
power
don't
cheap
cash
in
that
Montana?
out-
Is the power bill cheap?
Oh, not really, but you don't have to burn a lot of power when mining cryptocurrency. You don't need a power plant, really. If you get online and look, you can find miners that you can plug into your USB drive. They don't make you much, but they make something. So you can look at like the FutureBit Moonlanders, a little USB miner, and everybody can plug that into their laptop and learn how to mine Litecoin and other script algorithm coins. Just like that. I mean,
You
it's
said
so
you're
easy.
listening to Bitcoin-related news, podcasts, that kind of thing all day long, so you're probably way more connected to it than Johnson and I. Like, we're doing all kinds of things with our day, but probably not listening to Bitcoin stuff all
Right.
day. So you said you're pretty excited about a couple things on the horizon. I mean, can you pick a couple, like one or two, and tell us what's exciting to you?
Sure. I mean, there's, what I was more referring to is some new blockchain technology, and they aren't even technically blockchain. They're the same concept. It works the same, but they're more scalable. Bitcoin is slow. If everybody gets on and tries to send Bitcoin, the whole system just crashes.
Like IOTA's Tangle.
IOTA, perfect. Thank you.
interesting.
IOTA's Tangle is amazing. I mean, the more transactions that you put on the network, the faster it goes, because for every transaction you put into the network, it verifies 2 previous
That's
transactions.
correct. Yep.
So this is a wonderful idea.
So it's
And
scalable.
so
it's scalable from day one.
Infinitely.
Yep.
I mean, the more you put on it, the faster it goes. And so that's incredible. And so 5-10 years down the road, we're going to look at Bitcoin like, maybe that old coin, that old gold coin.
Like the old Model T. Bitcoin's the Model T of cryptocurrencies. But it's still
might be worth, $5 million at that point.
Right.
But nobody's going to have it, and there's not going to be much liquidity in that market.
Justin, great call. I want to say thanks, man. Thanks for calling and sharing your story tonight. I definitely really appreciate hearing from you. That's Justin there watching us.
Thank you guys for doing what you do. I love listening in.
Thanks, man. He's watching us there on DLive over at dlive.lrn.fm. The DLive caller's way better. Hey, it's Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free here, take control of the airwaves, bring up whatever you want. Our number is 855-450, free like freedom. It's 855-450-3733. We do have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms. Head over to discord.lrn.fm. You can hop into one of those rooms there and get on the air with us. Sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with Ian and Johnson. Toll-free number again, 855-450, free. And we continue with your calls and thoughts. We've got some more of these very interesting and very positive statistics for Bitcoin acceptance, understanding, and purchase. How many people in the United States are clued in? How many of them have Bitcoin? How many of them are going to buy Bitcoin? Some surprising numbers here that we'll share with you. Plus, the latest on there's apparently a coup attempt that's going down in Venezuela. As of earlier today, and then also a border guard-related lawsuit that Johnson is going to tell us about here. But first, we go back to your phone calls and thoughts. He's David in Albuquerque, listening to KABQ. Hello, David.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, so I don't know how many unicorns you guys might run into tonight. Maybe your sample size is affected by your listening type, but
undoubtedly.
My wife and I, we hang on to, I have Bitcoin myself, and then we also have decent savings, but I don't think we're huge earners.
Mm-hmm. The average, the number that's in the average is $3,000. That the average American doesn't have $3,000 and would not be able to deal with, a financial hardship that would.
That's almost exactly like what's in the bank for us.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Do you have credit card debt?
I think we make. Not that I don't pay off each month.
So you do carry a balance.
Right.
So wait, hold on. Do you have a balance that carries month to month? Are you making minimum payments, or you pay off your credit card totally every month?
We pay it off each month.
Okay, that's good. So no debt, no credit card debt. Okay. And how old are you and your wife?
I'm 30. She's 29.
Okay, so millennials then in that case.
Yep.
And you've got Bitcoin.
Yes. Yeah, I did sell a lot of it off at the peak. I kind of had a sense for when it was about to drop, but I still hung on to quite a bit as well, expecting it to rebound.
Right on.
And I pick up some every once in a while when I can.
And how long have you been into Bitcoin?
Oh, I wish I'd gotten in at the beginning. I was in college when it first started. Well, the problem was that I was looking at it. I was like, maybe I should grab some, just, throw $25 at it. And then I just kind of forgot. It was like 2009, 2010. I'd be a millionaire right now, but oh well.
Well, who knows? If you hold on to what you've got today, you may still end up a millionaire in 5 years. Who knows?
It's not as bad as me.
Move over to IOTA like that other guy was talking about.
It's not as bad as me because I was claiming on the radio that I was going to put a few $1,000s into Bitcoin when it was. I was making the claim on air that I'm going to put money into Bitcoin if Bitcoin hits parity with silver, which at the time was $35 an ounce. And Bitcoin went from 35
to like 100, right?
It jumped really fast, like up to like $90 or $100, and then
you were like, oh, wait till it goes back down.
Yeah,
right?
that rapid jump scared me, and I was like, well, I just need to see what's going to happen with it. I'm going to wait for it to go back down. I don't want to invest this money now because I'm afraid if I do this, because I'm like, I don't know that I could lose this. this. I'm like,
yeah,
I probably could lose it, but I don't want to. It would be too big of a hit.
Right. You shouldn't invest what you can't afford to lose. At least you didn't mortgage your house.
The thing is it was money that I knew that I wanted to. It was slated for investment, so I could have afforded to lose it, and should have.
I was just browsing around online, and I saw it was like maybe a couple cents for a Bitcoin when I first read about it. I didn't totally understand it, but even without understanding, I was like, well, I don't know what $25. I can throw $25 at this, and I was going to get back to it the next day, and then forgot about it. Yep. I didn't read about it again till like years later, when I was like, oh, I read about that one time. Crap.
Good story, David. Anything else you want to share tonight?
Oh no, just seeing if I could be a unicorn. I don't know if I am or not, but
you're special because you called our show, and we appreciate that. Thanks for the call. I appreciate you listening there in Albuquerque. We've got another David listener in Albuquerque. I didn't think that was going to be that David. It was a different one. Nice to see. And now here's our other Albuquerque listener, Sarah in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Sarah. Or caller. We got way more listeners than we do callers today, I should say.
That's amazing. So,
the 5s and 9s.
Well, did you know
we need a helicopter sound effect for Sarah. Let me see if I got one. I probably don't.
But anyway, did you know that we had 114 people who are shot so far in Bernalillo County this year?
Shot by whom? Police?
Just everybody's just shooting everybody. You know, they're shooting the...
Everybody's shooting everybody here in Albuquerque.
Well, you know, the county, Bernalillo County, is a surrounding area, you know, like Albuquerque and surrounding area. You remember that the boyfriend that shot the girlfriend and shot himself? That's two people.
That's happened
right there.
Like a bunch of times in the past. But, okay, it happened in Albuquerque, too.
Well, you know what?
What are you trying to say?
But
are you trying to say that Albuquerque is more dangerous than other places? Is that the point? Because that's probably not true.
Well, that's why we're welcoming the gun control law here in Albuquerque.
You are. You're welcoming them?
Well, Las Cruces, Santa Fe, and Albuquerque, our city said that we welcome the governor's gun control law. That was the statement. Well, because
it doesn't sound like a helicopter. You just keep going, Sarah. I'm trying to find helicopter sound effects.
Yeah, but do you understand why the rural people they hunt with their guns? They have to, like, I don't know if they shoot deer or whatever. So it's almost like that's how they survive. I can understand. But
so hunting's fine. Okay, got it.
Well, I mean, I don't know about how fine it is. I would like some kind of gun control out there too. But, you know, they got bears, they got wolves, they have
we need a long one, though.
They have a different attitude towards guns, and we got 114 people shot and hurt or killed just in so far, like April.
Should we take the police? Look, Sarah, how about we make it fair? I mean, if we're going to have gun control, how about we take away the guns from the cops, too? Does that sound fair?
No, that's crazy.
What? Wait a minute. The cops use guns to shoot people, too, and hurt people and shoot innocent people and shoot dogs. Do you support shooting dogs?
I do not. Well, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have never heard about
you.
Shooting dogs.
Obviously do not have the internet, because these stories are all over the place where police have shot dogs to death because they were supposedly afraid for their lives, and cops have shot like innocent little dogs who have been doing nothing but like wagging their tails and just wanting to get loved by the police officer, and they're coming up trying to give the police officer some attention, receive some attention, and they get a shotgun blast to the head for it. But you support the cops having guns, huh? You think they can kill people? That's totally fine with you? Do you have no value for human life? Thanks for the call. Toll-free number here is 855. I didn't really want to hear the answer. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Need a good helicopter news bed. It's Free Talk Live. Pop it in the Discord if you find one. Free Talk Live has found that though U.S. financial institutions are prohibited from doing business with foreign gambling websites, it's not illegal for U.S.-based internet users to gamble on those sites. People have been using VPNs or virtual private networks to connect to sites like games.bitcoin.com and play games with Bitcoin Cash. Games.bitcoin.com features poker, blackjack, roulette, craps, keno, slots, and dice. You can conduct your own investigation at games.bitcoin.com. It's Free Talk Live. Dial on in here toll free. Bring up whatever you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We've got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. And you can also join those rooms and sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with us. It's Ian here.
And Johnson.
Coming up, we still have this border guards-related lawsuit. Johnson, you're going to be telling us about that. We were going through some interesting statistics from a Harris poll study. They talked to over 2,000 American adults over the age of 18 and asked them some very interesting questions and got some very interesting responses about their awareness of Bitcoin, how likely they are to purchase or have they already purchased Bitcoin. And we've been through some of it earlier in the show tonight. So just a quick rundown here of, if you're just tuning in, what you've missed. The numbers are up. So despite the bear market, they're comparing this study that they did last week to a similar study they did in October of 2017. Mm-hmm. The prices of Bitcoin were about the same, but in October there was a huge run-up, a record-setting run-up that was going on, and over the last 18 months it's been kind of on the downside from what was originally a record-setting December of 2017. So these are the numbers are up as far as all of the numbers of interest and purchase and all of it. Let's see, 89% of Americans are aware that Bitcoin exists. That's up from 77%. And they do breakdowns on demographics as well, at least by age. Familiarity, they said that approximately, 43% of Americans are somewhat familiar with Bitcoin, whereas, according to this, 43% of Americans also have a positive view, meaning they think it's a positive innovation in financial technology. All of these numbers are up from 2017. Conviction, the percentage of people that strongly or somewhat agree that most people will be using Bitcoin in the next 10 years, up to 33%. So a third of Americans, averaged across all the age ranges, think that people are going to be using it. The majority of people will be using Bitcoin in the next 10 years. Propensity to purchase, 27% say they're going to buy Bitcoin within the next 5 years. And further, when asked what they would prefer to own $1,000 worth of, 21% of Americans said they would prefer Bitcoin to government bonds. That's up from 18%.
That's smart.
In October. 17% said they would prefer Bitcoin to stocks, up from 14% in October of 2017. 14% they would prefer Bitcoin to real estate, up from 12%. And 12% said they would prefer Bitcoin to gold, up from 8%. So up by 50%. From 8% to 12% from 2017.
The real estate and gold numbers are ones that I find kind of interesting because those are kind of more stable historically.
Traditional, pretty stable, except for the real estate bubble.
And especially, real estate in terms of actually investing. But I mean, a lot of the people who would say something like this are people who don't necessarily own their own property. So, that's where, as an investment, I think it's a very good idea to own where you live.
And right? It sure is, because you can live in your investment.
Right, you're living in your investment, and what that's doing is it's, in terms of your income, you're not making somebody else wealthy, right? I mean, so that's a kind of a huge bonus.
And so here's the big one. Here's the final question on the survey, and that is, who owns it? Because one thing to say you're going to own it. It's one thing to say you are aware that it exists, but how many Americans actually own some Bitcoin? Now, we don't know how much Bitcoin, but of the people surveyed, of the over 2,000 Americans surveyed last week by Harris, 11% of Americans own some Bitcoin.
Huh.
And when I reported these numbers in the chat group that we have here on Telegram in the Monadnock region of New Hampshire, actually one of our co-hosts, Chris Wade, on Friday nights, he balked.
Right.
He said he didn't believe that there were that many people that owned Bitcoin. And
it's
I said,
a little hard to believe.
I don't think it's hard to believe. 11% isn't a whole lot.
That's a huge number.
It's a big number. There's no doubt about it. But
I mean, that is a number that would 10% is the tipping point.
Well, maybe we're there.
So if we're at the tipping point, that does mean that within 5 years we could probably expect Bitcoin to be like $1 million.
Maybe McAfee is right. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. But my point was, I think what Chris was basing his opinion on, besides his general skepticism towards surveys and polls, was that you don't see it a lot. You know, like even when we go out to our crypto group meetups, some people don't even pay with cryptocurrency. And that's part of my point, is just because you have it doesn't mean that you're flashing it around. Just because you have Bitcoin doesn't mean that you're doing anything with it besides sitting on it. So the person who spends Bitcoin is a rarer bird than the person who holds Bitcoin. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think it's unbelievable here. And when you break down the age demographics, according to the survey, where did it go? 8 to 16% of 18 to 34-year-olds. 16% of them own Bitcoin. Does that sound more plausible that of younger people, about 1.5 of them out of 10
still
own
sounds
Bitcoin?
Like huge to me, but I don't.
35 to 44-year-olds, 12% of them said they own Bitcoin. 45 to 54-year-olds, 4%. 55 to 64-year-olds, 4%. And 65 plus, 2%. So 2% of retirees have gotten into it.
And maybe the tipping point here is 20%. So
okay,
we would need to double those numbers.
They're up since October of 2017. That's for sure. Yeah. So this is all good news. If you want to comment, you're welcome to join us.
Which is also interesting considering how poorly Bitcoin has been performing over the past couple of years, and yet these numbers have been going up.
And remember, these numbers are, they asked these questions back in 2017 as well. And all the numbers are going up. So the trend on acceptance, the trend on interest, the trend on awareness, the trend on purchasing, it's all going up. So if that continues, and I don't see any reason why it wouldn't, because people have good experiences with cryptocurrency generally. Yeah, it's, the wallets can be a little buggy here and there. We're still early on. There's not a whole lot of businesses that accept them in real life yet. So you're right, Johnson. It seems like there's not much happening, but maybe there's more under the surface than we're aware of. Because there's no reason why somebody would lie to the polling, survey here. The questions they're asking here aren't tricky kind of we want to manipulate your answer kind of questions.
Unless there are people that feel bad that they never did buy Bitcoin and they're like, yeah, I own Bitcoin.
Could be, but
yeah.
Statistically, of 2,000 people surveyed, I think it's plausible. So we'll see. This is interesting numbers. Keep your eyes on
this. Of the 2,000 people surveyed, at least 200 of them said that they own Bitcoin.
Approximately, yeah. That's right.
And it's like, where did they source these people from?
It was an online poll, but it's Harris, which is a respected polling firm.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. They do talk a little bit more about their methodology here. It says, survey conducted last week, April 23rd through 25th, among 2,029 adults by Harris Poll on behalf of Blockchain Capital via its Harris On Demand Omnibus product. Figures for age, sex, race, ethnicity, education, region, and household income were weighted where necessary to bring them into line with their actual proportions in the population. Propensity score weighing was used to adjust for respondents' propensity to be online. All sample surveys and polls, whether or not they use probability sampling, are subject to multiple sources of error, which are most often not possible to quantify or estimate, including sample error coverage or error associated with non-response.
It sounds like they did a little, more than one might even expect to try and balance for, I can't remember the word right now, but
adjust for respondents' propensity to be online, whatever that
bias.
means.
They attempted to adjust for bias. The bias of it being an online poll, the bias of the people who are answering the questions, that they attempted to skew towards.
Here you go. Respondents for the survey were selected from those among those who have agreed to participate in our surveys. So Harris has an online polling thing where it's not like your typical newspaper poll or whatever, which can be manipulated. This is an actual scientific online poll in that, at the very least, scientific if you consider pre-responsive.
So these are people who are heavily online and interested in
being polled, basically. So there's more coming up here. If you want to share your calls and thoughts, because how the hell do you do a phone poll anymore? Is that even possible? I mean, to get a good spread? It's Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live. You dial toll-free if you want. You can join us here. The toll-free number for you is 855-450 free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Coming up, the latest from the Venezuelan attempted coup, allegedly. That's on the way, plus a Border Patrol-related story that Johnson's going to share with us here shortly. And your calls and thoughts also are welcome about whatever's on your mind. Our number is 855-450 free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Also, if you are an individual who rejects the initiation of force and agrees to abide by the ethics of the non-aggression principle, you really ought to get over to liberty.menu. That allows you to promote the thing that you do, your business. Maybe you create digital content that you want to promote, get some more viewers or listeners to that. Maybe there's an event that you're behind or you're interested in promoting. They want more people to attend. You can put all those things up on liberty.menu with your profile there. And it's free to do it. So do you want free publicity for the thing you do? If so, if you're a liberty-minded person, you belong over at liberty.menu. So get on over there and create an account if you don't yet have one. And then use code FTL if you would like on your account, and you'll get a special Free Talk Live listener badge because we can't give you a discount because it's free. So go to liberty.menu as we continue here. Before we get into your story about the Border Patrol, Johnson, I did want to address what Stephen TVP said in our DLive chat over on dlive.lrn.fm. He alleges that Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme. He claims that crypto is as Ponzi as it comes. And I'm sorry, but no. Not in any way, shape, or form.
Is he being paid by, was it Jamie Dimon to say that?
Jamie Dimon from Chase, I think Chase Bank.
Yeah.
That does sound like something.
They run a pretty much, what is pretty much a Ponzi scheme, or not necessarily a Ponzi scheme in structure, but it is certainly their, the house kind of wins.
Oh yeah, the house usually wins if you're the bank because you've got government guarantees.
Bailouts, right.
Yeah, bailouts. Look, a Ponzi scheme is
They certainly don't want you to become your own bank, for sure.
Now, look, I want to be clear. There are Ponzi schemes in the world of crypto.
Yeah,
there are scam artists who would love to have you pay them a bunch of crypto into their website, and then they promise to give you way more money than what you paid in. Okay? So if somebody tells you, you give me a whole Bitcoin, I'll give you back a Bitcoin and a half.
Right.
If somebody tells you that, red alert.
Yeah.
That's, red flag. This is a potential scam, likely scam if it sounds too good to be true. Even if they're guaranteeing you like 2% or something like that.
Right.
It still sounds too good. It's probably too good to be true. Look out. Make sure you do your due diligence on this. And there are definitely some websites that are like that will absolutely take Bitcoin and other cryptos from you, and then maybe you'll get it back if you're early enough in the scheme. Because that's, Ponzi scheme is where a person promises you some sort of return on an investment. Should you invest in this scheme and other people continue to invest in the scheme, over time, the people who invested early do see returns. Because as long as the scheme continues to get people to invest, then the early investors will get money out of it, which means they'll sing the praises of the scheme. They may truly believe in it, right? They may not be scammers themselves. They may actually be true believers in it, right? So they may not be lying to you when they tell you that this is working, because it's working for them. But when the suckers run out, that's when the Ponzi scheme collapses. Once they've managed to trick as many people as they can and nobody else is willing to invest, then there's no fresh money coming into the system. And because there was never a product originally, it was just an investment scheme, it was just a money-moving scam, then it all comes crashing down. And people who put money in don't get a single dime back. And the people who put money in the beginning stop getting more money at that point. And then a lot of people get angry and criminal charges get brought. So if there's a cryptocurrency that's promising you returns, look out, because that could be a scam.
Yeah.
And there are thousands of cryptos out there, so I can't tell you which one of them, at the low levels might be scams. But the ones on the top tier, many of them have been very vetted, looked at very closely by people. I'm not saying it's a perfect world. There's, it's unregulated, which is a good thing because it means that people can create cryptocurrencies without asking for permission.
I mean, look at Mt. Gox, right? That was the top crypto exchange. And
it was the only one for a long time.
Right. And they, vanished with a lot of people's money.
Yeah. Well, if you put your crypto into somebody else's hands and you trust them to take care of it, you better trust them, because if they walk away with it, then what are you going to do about it?
Right.
But it's not
a lot more like gold than if somebody else is holding all your coins.
But Mt. Gox wasn't a Ponzi scheme. It was just a scam.
Yeah.
Right? So not everything that's a scam is a Ponzi scheme. A Ponzi scheme is a specific type of sort of pyramid investment fakery, basically, that usually always has a promise of return, a ridiculous promise of return, an unrealistic promise of it, and is always predicated on more people being scammed into this system. And it always comes down at some point. But cryptocurrency on its own is just a method of transmitting value from one point to another through cryptographically secure channels using blockchain technology, typically. That means that, as you mentioned earlier, has a public blockchain. Most of them are public. Some are privacy coins, but the public ones, you can examine them. They're open source. So it's totally transparent, unlike a Ponzi scheme. There's no transparency with a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, speaking of scams, or at least my opinion of a scam, have you heard the news that Bitcoin SV is proudly announcing that they're going to try and start Hash Wars 2.0.
Oh, they're going to try again the thing that failed for them the first time?
Right, and resulted in them losing a significant amount of value. I guess they just want to try and kill themselves.
They want to sink the coin, basally.
They're going to sink themselves, yeah. They're trying to attack,
Are they going after Bitcoin Cash again?
Yeah, of course. That's what they're going to do. I mean, and it's just like, well, I guess you want to just damage yourself into the ground. I mean, at what point does a crypto, disappear? I mean, I guess it could just go on forever.
If people stop mining it.
Right.
Then it basically disappears, at least for all effective purposes.
I mean,
they could start mining it again.
Craig could just be mining it himself,
Sure. Well, I remember my roommate had, God, what was it called? One of those it was one of the myriad of cryptocurrencies that had failed. I mined it just for fun for a little while and mined like, 1 million of them or something like that. But you can't use them anywhere. They're not accepted on an exchange. The idea was that they were going to restart this old cryptocurrency. Right. And I don't think it ever did get restarted. It was probably a waste of my time to mine it. But for the moment, it was kind of like, oh, this is kind of cute.
It won't
Indocoin. That's what it was.
Yeah, it won't restart until like 10 years down the road from now, when you've lost the wallet.
And I'll be like,
that's when they'll restart it, and it'll like jump up in value.
Right. And then I'll have 1 million, and I won't know where they are.
But that's how the crypto world tends to work. Right?
So that's an example of a crypto that came out. They tried Indocoin. It died. Nobody, at some point it stopped being mined, and then at some point somebody else decided, I want to try to bring this back. So they started mining it again. And since they were like the only miner, they got a bunch of it, and other people jumped in. And, if you can get it listed on an exchange, then maybe that'll help it become tradable, and then maybe it will stick around. I don't know. It seems like if somebody stops mining coin, it goes away. I know that Michael Dean had to deal with this situation with his coin at one point, which was called Bipcoin, Bipcoin, Bipcoin. And he tried to actually kill his coin, but somebody was continuing to mine it or whatever, and so it kept going. Right. So he couldn't, once it's out there in the wild, you can't decide what to do with it at that point.
You can't kill the Bipcoin. It's under the BitCot no-gov license.
That's right.
So
so where are we going next here, Johnson?
Boston, I guess.
Do we have to?
That's where the article. I know, but that's where this article is out of, or this press release from the Electronic Frontier Foundation. And this news is from today. The Electronic Frontier Foundation and the ACLU today asked a federal court to rule without trial that the Department of Homeland Security violates the First and Fourth Amendments by searching travelers' smartphones and laptops at airports and other U.S. ports of entry without a warrant. The request for summary judgment comes after the groups obtained documents and deposition testimony revealing that U.S. citizens and Border Protection and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement authorize border officials to search travelers' phones and laptops for general law enforcement purposes and consider requests from other government agencies when deciding whether to conduct such warrantless searches.
So wait a minute. So they're saying the Border Patrol is doing other law enforcement agencies' bidding?
I guess so, yeah.
Meaning if a suspect from Albuquerque is coming across the border and somebody knows it in the Albuquerque Police Department and they call up their buddy at the Border Patrol and they say, hey, Johnson's coming across. He'll be coming through today. Can you go ahead and just take a look at his stuff?
Right.
So they're doing searches for other police without legal
that's
authority.
The case, that they've received documents that seem to point at that truth.
And this is something the EFF has actually been fighting generally for a few years now. Is these Border Patrol searches at the border?
I've been making progress today. Yes.
Yeah, and I've been subject to one of these things, and I'm traveling again internationally in a week, and so I'm already preparing for another 3-hour detention. More coming up. Free Talk Live.
Business owners, you want more customers? Accept cryptocurrencies. There's people all around you just waiting to spend money at your store. If only you would take it. I know, you've been waiting till someone else makes it easy. Well, good news. HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com adds Bitcoin to your point of sale, totally free. Use the same equipment you already have, now with Bitcoin. And unlike credit cards, there's no fees. Let the guys at HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com bring new customers to your store. HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. We're launching into the third hour of the program. Sounds like some interesting developments in the world of the Electronic Frontier Foundation and their taking on of the Border Patrol. Now, you wouldn't think the Electronic Frontier Foundation would have anything to do with the Border Patrol, but they do. They're actually very interested, and they've got a multi-party lawsuit that they're representing, I think, close to a dozen plaintiffs and I don't think that's the same case you're talking about, but it sounds related, Johnson. This lawsuit that I'm aware of has to do with people who've had their devices searched at the border, and the EFF is suing, saying that this is out of the bounds of what the Border Patrol should be allowed to do.
I think this is directly related.
Okay. All right. And you've got a story from Boston about this. If you want to comment, by the way, our toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. So brief recap for those just tuning in.
So the brief recap is that they've presented testimony, and they're requesting a judgment without trial that says, hey, the border security is, the home, ICE and
Customs and Border Patrol.
Yeah, basically, they're violating the First and Fourth Amendment, and this needs to be stopped immediately. So they're requesting for a summary judgment. The evidence that we have presented, this is a quote, the evidence that we have presented the court shows that the scope of ICE and CBP border searches is unconstitutionally broad, said EFF senior staff attorney Adam Schwartz. ICE and CBP policies and practices allow unfettered, warrantless searches of travelers' digital devices and empower officers to dodge the Fourth Amendment when rifling through highly personal information contained on laptops and phones.
Right, and I imagine it's going to mention this, but my understanding of the lawsuit, basically their argument is, yes, the Border Patrol, we acknowledge, they have a greater searchability at the border than, say, a police officer pulling you over on the side of the road, because when you go through the border, even though you're an American, you have rights and all that, you don't really have the rights when you're at the border, so they can search you.
Yeah,
however, they're saying that this search is above and beyond the pale because it's so invasive. It is invasive into every corner of that person's life because these phones basically have a significant these days, right? If you don't have a smartphone, then it doesn't matter. But for those of us that do have smartphones, and I think it's 80% of American adults at this point have them, every email probably that you've ever sent in the last decade is accessible there. thousands of photos for the average person. Lots of them just save their photos. They never go through and delete them. Facebook posts. I mean, all these things that people have is accessible through that device. Now, one of the things that they're not supposed to do during the search is they're not supposed to go online. So when I got my phone back from the detectives who were searching it in secret, by the way.
Right.
So when I was being searched at the border when I came back from Acapulco in February, it was a 3-hour-long detention. They first searched my phone with just like a uniformed agent, paunchy, overweight New York bureaucrat. Mm-hmm. He didn't seem to know a whole lot about technology. He just kind of went through my pictures. And
there's an app. I would love to do that. If they're not supposed to, I don't know what the policy is. But I have an app that I've installed on my phone called Prey, Prey, that is specifically you can report your phone in a like lost or stolen mode. And essentially when if that device gains network access, it immediately will report to you that it has gained network access. It will send you its location, and it will immediately start photographing whoever's holding the device, and basically to turn them into prey. So you now know their location, what they look like, and when they're accessed, where they are, like everything. So it's essentially made to. And
I'm loading that up on my phone.
You can actually also make the app look like a game. So it's like even on your phone, like you can hide it so it doesn't necessarily be obvious what it is.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
because you don't know what they're doing. So the rest of the story was this sort of.
I also have it on my laptop too. It's like
the laptop didn't turn out to be an issue, and I'll explain that here in a moment. But what I've done was for the past couple of years since I've been traveling to Mexico, and this has become an issue. We knew this was going to potentially be an issue because it's been in the news of people in greater and greater numbers every year of the last several years having their devices searched. So they're doing more and more and more of these searches, which is why the EFF has gotten involved. And so to prepare myself for this, because I don't want to lose my laptop and phone, because if you can say no to the search, then they just take your stuff, supposedly. Right. That's the claim. They'll just take it, and then if they ever give it back to you, that's up to them. So I didn't want to lose my laptop and phone because there's all kinds of good, useful information on there, and it's, a few $100, so I wouldn't want to have to go and buy another one. So what I do is I sort of prepare myself in advance by putting like a bare bones Linux install on the laptop. So all there is a few web browsers. There's nothing to search through. And then before I get off the plane, so on my flight back into the United States, the last thing I do is I just scrub the phone. I delete all the photographs on the phone. Not that there was anything there for them to find in the first place, but I don't want them going through my stuff.
Right.
So I delete my, things I can delete. I logged out of my Google account, right? So that way if they were to go to the email, which they're not supposed to do, they wouldn't see anything because I'm logged out of my Gmail. I'm logged out of Telegram, or actually, I think instead of logging out, I'll password protect from now on those things. But they're not supposed to go into your instant messengers. They're not supposed to go into your email. And when I got the phone, sorry, I told you part of the story. So the first search was in front of me because I requested. I said, hey, can you do this in front of me? I want to observe this. And he was fine with it. But then later, after waiting for a while, after the sort of the standard CBP bureaucrat did the standard search, they then brought out the detectives.
Right.
The badges around the chain, kind of plain clothes.
Right.
2 detectives came out, and they took my stuff in the back room, and they refused to allow me to observe it. However, they didn't ask me to log into my laptop, so they couldn't have searched that because it's encrypted.
Right.
So they were only able to search my camera, which I had with me, and my phone. And again, the phone had been sanitized, so I'm sure they probably imaged the phone, would be my guess. They plugged it into a computer and just downloaded the entire thing so they could search it later. That would be my guess. But they brought it back to me, and it was in airplane mode, which I had not given it to them in airplane mode. So that's supposedly what they're supposed to do is when they get the phone, they're supposed to put it into airplane mode. That way they can't access online content from your phone. But who knows if they really do because they're not in front of you the whole time.
Right.
So anyway, that's part of this, is EFF is saying if you can get into somebody's email, if you can get into their chats, you are going way deeper into their life than a typical search would reveal.
It would be also interesting, a lot of phones now you can, if they're not searching it in front of you, you can turn on like a screen casting.
A logger. I would want a logger.
A logger, but I was thinking actually like there are lots of tools there for doing like a demo, like a tech demo or whatever that will record your screen and record everything that's going on.
Right.
Start that before handing it over to them and say, here you go.
What's a good one, chat room?
And then you can like watch back everything that they did on your phone.
Amazing. What's a good one? That's
I
what
don't know. I know like there's one built in on iOS, but
I don't have that.
I have a story actually in regards to that. So like I have recommended to a number of people, including your ex was here earlier. Your ex-girlfriend was in here, and I've mocked her because she lost her phone one time, and I said, well,
one time.
Yeah,
it was like every day.
I think that at this point she has installed Prey. I told her numerous times, and I was mocking her after one time she lost her phone. I'm like, well, did you install the app? Because you'd just be able to look it up. I'm like, you'd be able to look it up right now, where your phone is. Mm-hmm. And I actually, my girlfriend currently, we were downtown picking something up or whatever, and she had taken her phone and when we were getting into the car and put her phone on top of the car and didn't realize it. And I had told her to install this app, and because it's on Android, it actually functions better. It works better on Android because Android, you can have an app that's persistently open in the background. Yeah. Whereas on iOS, if you close that app, it doesn't really work anymore. Not the same. But there's functions in iOS that do this on its own, to track and find, an iPhone. But on Android anyway, we were able to go and locate it, and it literally brought us to the exact dot on the GPS. Her phone had flown off the top of the car and into the median on Main Street in Keene.
Wow.
So, like, into the grassy area in between places. This was, like, in front of the corner of Emerald Street.
And the GPS was that accurate on it?
Yep, we were able to find it.
Amazing.
Yeah, in the grass.
Did it have a case on it? Did it have a case on it, or was it?
It did,
like,
so it was fine.
Okay,
it was not smashed.
Wow.
If it had been in the street, it could have gotten run over.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very lucky that it flew into the median.
So that Prey app totally saved her on that one. That's pretty sweet. Yeah. All right, more coming up here.
She had just bought the phone, too.
Is it a free
brand
app?
new, like,
free app?
S10 or S9 or whatever.
App's free?
Yes.
All right, more coming up. This is Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free here at 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. And if you know of any good like screen logging, screen capture software, that we would like to know about.
Yeah, for like doing tech demos on your phone or something like that.
Yeah, which would allow you to record whatever it is that a police officer does with your phone at the border specifically is what we're talking about.
Oh my God. Actually, you know who would probably implement this in like 10 seconds? We should just reach out to our friend Virgil.
Oh, Virgil at Cell 411.
Yeah. I'm sure that could be added as a feature.
Oh, I bet you're right. Yeah. He would be, because he already has the feature that when Cell 411, for listeners that don't know, is a decentralized emergency alerts app. That's basically what it does, but it has some cool side features as well.
Right.
Like if the cop steals your phone, you can have it to where when the cop tries to delete your video, because Cell 411 has a video recording mode, so like you get pulled over by the cops, you send an alert to your friends, letting them know where you are and what's happening to you. I'm pulled over, and then they see the alert, and they can maybe respond and come out and help you. And they can also watch if you're streaming live video, because the app gives you the option when you send the alert, would you like to also record video? You say yes, and you start streaming the video out. Well, if the cop takes your phone from you, which has been known to happen, like, give me that, and they grab the phone, and then they're like, you're recording video, I'm going to delete it. And then they hit the delete button, or they go back to their car and hit the delete button. The software, Cell 411 at getcell411.com, has a fake delete button option. So you fake the cop out, make them think they're deleting your video, when in fact what's actually happening is it just looks like they deleted the video, and it takes a camera shot of whoever it was that pressed the button. So you know which cop it was. If there was like 3 cops that were dealing with you, you know which one hit the button. So yeah, it would totally be a good feature for Cell 411. I wonder if he's still actively developing it. I haven't talked to him in a while.
I think so. I think he's still got it out there, but yeah.
So yeah, if you know of screen capture software that could run like, in the background on a smartphone that's relatively affordable or free, I would love to run that while I go through the border checkpoint.
Yeah.
Because they screwed with me this year. They didn't mess with me the first or second years I was coming back from Acapulco, but this year I got delayed, missed my flight, got delayed by 3.5 extra hours by these bureaucrats. as they pawed through my devices, and once did it in secret. So I have no idea what they did. I just presumed the worst and figured they imaged my entire device.
Right.
So go on. Tell us more about what's going on.
It'd be cool, too, if you could have an app that would also not only be screen recording, but also like discreetly. Well, I don't know. Would that be illegal if it was discreetly recording what they were saying and doing as they did it?
Ooh, to wiretap them?
Yeah.
Basically. Probably. That would probably be
they really
illegal.
shouldn't have an expectation of privacy at that point.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. That'd be a question for the EFF to answer, to ask some of their attorneys that. And we'll get back into the story, but let's actually go to Mick. He's hanging on the line, listening in Pennsylvania via LRN.FM. Go ahead, Mick.
Hi, if somebody deletes Johnson, who are you going to call in?
LRN.FM.
Loser. Toll-free number, and dump in your call, too. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. You can, there we go. The two people that are banned from the show called in tonight. How about that?
Did he call twice, or is that a...
No, the other guy was the lunatic from New Jersey who keeps promoting his website.
Crazy. Well,
that's the guy who wants to kill everybody.
Right.
That guy.
Right.
All right, let's continue.
I think they should probably be together.
Sure.
In that facility.
Why not? All right, let's get back into the story. EFF, lawsuit, Border Patrol.
Yes.
Where are we at?
Okay, so they're talking about rifling through phones, allowing the powers that are being granted here. So it says here the previously undisclosed government information was obtained as part of a lawsuit. Al-Assad versus McLeanan. EFF, ACLU, and ACLU of Massachusetts filed in September 2017 on behalf of 11 travelers, 10 U.S. citizens, and 1 lawful permanent resident whose smartphones and laptops were searched without warrants at U.S. ports of entry. This new evidence reveals that government agencies are using the pretext of the border to make an end run around the First and Fourth Amendments, said Esha Bandari, staff attorney with the ACLU's Speech, Privacy, and Technology Project. The border is not a lawless place. ICE and CBP are not exempt from the Constitution, and the information on our electronic devices is not devoid of Fourth Amendment protections. We're asking the court to stop these unlawful searches and require the government to get a warrant.
Wow. God, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
There's no way the court's going to rule outside of a trial for this, though. They're not going to give them a summary judgment.
Probably not. But they did. The court has ruled. I mean, it was for a while. I mean, it's been fairly recent that they actually finally ruled that within the United States, the cops needed a warrant to search phones. Right? That happened in 2018. Right? They finally made that ruling.
I don't recall.
Yeah. So it's true now that generally, if you're not within 100 miles of the border, they can't search your device.
They certainly can't force you to unlock it.
Yeah, without a warrant.
Yeah.
So,
I don't even think within a warrant they can force you to unlock it.
Yeah. So it says, well,
within the U.S.
No, I think there have been cases where they have forced it if there is a warrant. If it's court testimony or whatever, then they can force you. There have been cases in regards to
meaning that you'll be put in contempt if you don't unlock it. Yeah, I suppose you're right.
Or even held in prison.
That's what I mean.
Well, yeah. I mean, but
when you go to contempt, it's contempt, you go to jail indefinitely.
It seemed like the case that I remember. It seemed like it was beyond simple contempt. They really they really held somebody, and they were like, "We're going to hold him until he unlocks the phone." Yeah. Period. It's like, what? You can't do that. Well, yes, we can. So anyway,
they do a lot of things they can't legally do, and usually get away with it until somebody like the EFF calls them on it.
Right. So the government's documents and testimony, portions of which were filed publicly in court today, reveal CBP and ICE are asserting broad and unconstitutional authority to search and seize travelers' devices. The evidence includes ICE and CBP policies and practices that authorize border officers to conduct warrantless and suspicionless device searches for purposes beyond...
Oh, they were quite suspicious of me. Yeah. I'll tell you that.
For purposes beyond the enforcement of immigration and customs laws. Officials can search devices for general law enforcement purposes, such as enforcing bankruptcy, environmental, and consumer protection laws, and for intelligence gathering or to advance pre-existing investigations. Officers also consider requests from other government agencies to search devices. Mm-hmm. In addition, the agencies assert that the authority to search electronic devices when the subject of interest is someone other than the traveler, such as when the traveler is a journalist or a scholar with foreign sources who are of interest to the U.S. government, or even when the traveler is the business partner of someone under investigation. Both agencies further allow officers to retain information from travelers' electronic devices and share it with other government entities, including state, local, and foreign law enforcement agencies.
Jesus. Yeah. So, image your phone. Share it with the local sheriff.
Yep.
More coming up here on this story. Who's reporting on this, by the way?
This is a press release from the EFF.
Oh, straight from the EFF. Yep. That's right. 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. If you've got a Border Patrol search story that you want to share with us or just want to take control of the airwaves, bring up whatever's on your mind. You may do that as well. This is Free Talk Live.
Go to themorganreport.com and receive updates and insights you will not find anywhere else on the web. You will discover how to grow and protect your wealth under all market conditions. The Free Morgan Report provides interviews, webinars, question and answer sessions, plus mind-blowing videos. As David Morgan says, let my passion create your wealth. TheMorganReport.com. TheMorganReport.com.
Free Talk Live. You may dial toll free here. Take control of the airwaves. Bring whatever's on your mind. Our number's 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We've got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms. They're available to you over on our Discord server, which allows you to chat with other Free Talk Live listeners. Go to discord.lrn.fm. You can find the server there where there are people hanging out usually 24 hours a day. There's people in there all night long, all day long, talking about a variety of different things in different rooms, and it's free. So head over to discord.lrn.fm. Also free, well, at least there's no ticket price, ForkFest 2019. It is coming up, and it's coming up fast. It's going to be in January. It's going to be June 13th through the 18th. So basically the last week of springtime, last week of spring, over at Rogers Campground, the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. It is a libertarian, decentralized camping festival. Decentralized meaning there's no central authority besides the campground. There's no organizer of ForkFest. It's just liberty-minded folks, voluntarists, liberty-loving anarchists, libertarians coming to the same campground and just creating whatever it is they want to create. Maybe you just want to hang out and camp. That's cool. But maybe you want to do something for the other campers to enjoy. I know Terrence Lupo's talking about doing like a classic game night, like with board games, I think.
Right.
And then also Derek and Steven from AnyPay are going to be throwing apparently raves every single night, including the Big Gay Dance Party, the return of the Big Gay Dance Party, the first time in 3-4 years since there's been one of those. So it used to be at the Porcupine Freedom Festival. It is now happening at ForkFest, which you didn't know about until tonight, Johnson. I informed you of that. And Man Camp is happening.
I actually did know that was happening. I just didn't know what night it was happening on.
Ah, okay. Well,
because I'm unfortunately not going to be there for all of ForkFest. I'm going to be there for the end of it.
Okay. Well, at least you're making it out for some
of it. Definitely the end few days, because I work and whatnot, and so I'll be there for the final weekend.
Cool.
Which is good because that's
the end of it. Yeah, it's the weekend. It goes again the 13th. I think that's a Thursday through the 18th of June. So get on to forkfest.party. There's a link there to the ForkFest forum, the ForkFest chat room, which these are all unofficial. If somebody launches another ForkFest forum, then there'll be two of them. Because again, there's no central authority here at ForkFest. Forkfest.party. We will see you there because Free Talk Live will be broadcasting from the event. We're talking about the news about the EFF, their press release today that they have asked for summary judgment in their lawsuit, basically declaring the border searches that the Customs and Border Patrol or Customs and Border Enforcement are conducting. Tens of thousands of these searches. They've searched, I think it was in 2017, I think it was like 29,000 devices or somewhere in that range. Mm-hmm. Lots of devices, lots of people being targeted for these searches. Turns out they found some evidence that shows the Border Patrol is searching at the request of other law enforcement agencies. Agencies that don't have the right to search your devices when you're just driving from point A to point B within the United States, where they would need your consent to search. these agencies are now reaching out to the Border Patrol and saying, hey, if you see Johnson Rice passing through, make sure you search his devices for us.
And they're doing things that are extremely chilling to the First Amendment, like searching journalists.
Oh, yeah.
And
intimidation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, So they are saying here the plaintiffs are asking the court to rule that the government must have a warrant based on probable cause before conducting searches of electronic devices which contain highly detailed personal information about people's lives.
Right.
The plaintiffs, which include a limousine driver, a military veteran, journalists, students, an artist, a NASA engineer, and a business owner, are also requesting that the court to hold that the government must have probable cause to confiscate a traveler's device. Oh, that's good, too. So not only are they saying not search it, but they're also saying probable cause to confiscate as well.
Nice.
Yeah, which would be pretty fantastic.
Which is what I expect to happen when I say no.
Yeah, so the district court previously rejected the government's motion to dismiss the lawsuit. So they said, no, we're not going to dismiss this. The number of electronic device searches at the border has increased dramatically in the last few years. Last year, CBP conducted more than 33,000 border device searches.
More than I thought.
Yeah, almost 4 times the number from just 3 years earlier. CBP and ICE policies allow border officers to manually search anyone's smartphone with no suspicion at all, and to conduct a forensic search.
And laptop and camera, anything electronic with an electronic storage.
Yeah. And to conduct forensic search with a reasonable suspicion of wrongdoing. CBP also allows suspicionless device searches for national security concern. Below is a full list of plaintiffs, and their individual stories can be found here. And it talks about,
this is the suit I was talking about.
Yeah, I don't know that we necessarily need to list all these people, but
it's a lot. I think there's like a dozen of them.
Yeah, and it talks about who they are, like the NASA engineer, and there's a programmer and journalist and
I think that's important for EFF to do. We don't have to do it here, but it's important for them to do that because you want to put a human face on this. It's not just like, here, we represent 20 faceless individuals. No, these are people with families. They have lives. They have their lives disrupted. They missed a flight. They missed work. They lost data. They lost their laptop. They never got it back. There's all these different stories of how these people have just had their lives just destroyed. Here's another question. When you go into the room, this is kind of an interesting aside to this story, Johnson. When you go into this drab, institutional, boring, awful waiting room where there's like 15 bureaucrats milling about, there's probably 50 different chairs in there where the victims, people like me, were seated. At the time of day I was there, it was mostly empty. I was there at 5:30 in the morning. So there were only like 5 people in there. There was like 15 bureaucrats and 5 victims. But I bet you that room gets pretty full at some points. So I was there for 3 hours and there was no one there.
Right.
So that's how long it took them to get through me with almost nobody else in the room. I mean, there was a handful and maybe a couple came in and out while I was waiting, but there wasn't much action going on generally. But, man, I couldn't imagine being in that room with 25, 30, 50 people sitting in there waiting for whatever stupid bureaucracy they have to be subject to. But there's signs all over the room.
And how long does it take to look at a phone and go, oh, this phone's been wiped? Like it's in default state.
Well, mine wasn't in default state.
Okay.
I didn't uninstall all the programs, but I logged out of like my Google so they couldn't get into the email.
Okay.
I logged out of like Telegram and things like that.
Right.
Deleted all the photos. So there were still some things for them to look through.
Yeah.
And certainly I don't think they looked through them. I think they just downloaded the whole thing. Then they could look later.
I mean, if you deleted your photos and stuff like that, I don't see why you wouldn't want to just, have a cloud backup somewhere and wipe the damn thing and then download from the cloud later. I mean, it might take a day or whatever.
That's what I did the first time that I went through when I didn't get checked. I had actually wiped just about everything off the phone and then just reinstalled all the programs when I came back. But one of the problems with that is if you do that with like Signal doesn't have any startup security. So if you uninstall Signal, and then when you reinstall it, it just sends you a text to the same phone. So the agents, if they saw Signal was uninstalled, could just install Signal, and then it would just show you unencrypted, whatever chats were there. So that's kind of a weakness in Signal. But you can lock Signal down with a password and make it so that I don't know. Nothing's
I would love
perfect.
to try. Here's a test for somebody. It's you get your phone, right?
This is why, just to interrupt you, this is why you shouldn't talk about things over Signal. Even though it's encrypted, if somebody gets their hands on your phone, well, the encryption doesn't matter at that point. Sorry, you were saying.
I would love to get the packaging. You have your phone, right? You buy your phone and you have the packaging, and then if there was an app, or maybe even you just do it, you reset your phone back to the thing, put it back in the packaging, and make the packaging look as though it's sealed, and see, would they just skip it because they think it's brand new?
I don't know.
Or would they take a look at it?
I think they probably want to look at it. They'd probably be suspicious.
Like, okay, fine. Open it up. It's a
brand new phone.
And then they open it up and it looks like it's totally reset or whatever, and be like, yeah, I just got the phone.
What there needs to also be is like a cop mode kind of thing where you should be able to like dual boot the phone basically and make it so that if you put in a certain code when you are booting the phone, it goes into your normal mode.
Right.
But if you don't put in that code, it goes into like dummy cop mode.
Right.
Where there's nothing to see, there's nothing going on. They can page through it and they'll find nothing.
That's
if they image
be a lot
it,
harder to
nothing
happen.
happens. It could happen if somebody wanted to program that, but
that's like an OS level thing. So yeah.
All right, more coming up here. 855, 450 free. We got. Is there more on this?
Yeah, there's a little. No, actually, no, there's not.
If not, coming up, Venezuela. It's Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live. Moments remain. There's enough time for you. If you want to join us now, the toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord on air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. And also, if you support what we do here on Free Talk Live, then please become a Free Talk Live amplifier like Joe Pesci. Well, at least somebody claiming their name is Joe Pesci. I don't know if it's the real Joe Pesci, but somebody calling themselves Joe Pesci has become a Free Talk Live Gold amplifier. And so thank you for that, Joe. Appreciate it. Gold means $10 a month, but you can do $5 a month. That's all we ask for is $5 a month, and you get some cool perks and benefits for being a Free Talk Live amplifier that other people don't get. And you can help us get on more radio stations around the country to bring new internet listeners on board with the show, bring new radio stations on, and help us get the ideas of freedom into more people's ears. So if you like what we're doing here, then please join the AMP program, get the benefits, and help us out over at amp.freetalklive.com. Yes, you can use PayPal. Yes, you can use credit card and Bitcoin BTC. It's amp.freetalklive.com. Stories all over the place about what's going on in Venezuela today with an ostensible alleged coup happening, and there's some pretty shocking video that has come out. This is video from Trish_Regan of a large crowd of people allegedly running from the Maduro regime's troops, firing at them, allegedly pellets and live ammunition, as Nicolas Maduro attempts to suppress an uprising today. But that's not the worst of it. In video actually posted by, or probably reposted, by the White House. So on the White House Twitter account, the Donald Trump White House, not Donald Trump's account, but the White House account, titled, "This is the corrupt, illegitimate Maduro regime." In this video, and Johnson, I don't think you've seen this yet, but in this video you've got, and it's up on my screen, I don't know if you can take a look at it here. This is, let me replay this for you. So you've got this armored vehicle. It looks like pretty much like a Bearcat, just rolling right into a crowd of people.
Wow.
Just, I mean, running people down.
Yeah. Bouncing up and down as it does so. And those are very heavy vehicles too.
So what has sparked this violence? The story from Reuters out of Caracas from today. Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido today called for a military uprising.
I wonder what happened. I mean, typically when you rush a vehicle into a crowd, that's not going to end well for the driver of that vehicle, usually.
He drove away.
Yeah, that's surprising that they didn't somehow, break it.
But the crowd didn't stop him somehow?
Yeah, somehow stop him. Yeah.
I mean, these are armored vehicles. I'm sure they're pretty good for running over crowds in this case. I didn't see anybody fling a Molotov at it or anything like that. And the people in Venezuela are, for the most part, unarmed. the government there years ago confiscated weapons. So unless you are a criminal, who's got an illegal gun, you don't have one. So they called for a military uprising to oust Nicolas Maduro, the president of the country, and armed factions exchanged gunfire outside of a Caracas airbase as the country hit a new crisis point after years of political and economic chaos. Several dozen men armed in military uniform accompanying Guaido clashed with soldiers supporting Maduro at a protest outside of the La Carlota airbase. Reuters witnesses said, but the incident fizzled out and did not appear to be part of an immediate attempt by the opposition to take power by force. Guaido, in a video posted on Twitter earlier today, said he had begun the, quote, final phase of his campaign to topple Maduro, calling on Venezuelans and the military to back him. So if he could get the military to turn against Maduro, he'd have it. Of course, the military's probably being fed, by Maduro.
Right.
So
for now, anyway.
Yeah, for now. I mean, he's gonna feed his guys as long as he possibly can, whereas other people are losing weight every single year in Venezuela because of the lack of basic food items. Defense Minister Vladimir Pedrino called the latest instability a coup movement. But several hours after Guaido's announcement, there was no sign of any other military activity, and there were no immediate reports of casualties. Guaido later left a rally that he was holding with military supporters at his airbase. Maduro said he had spoken with military leaders and that they had shown him their total loyalty. Nerves of steel, Maduro wrote on Twitter. He said, I call for maximum popular mobilization to assure the victory of peace. We will win. So he's promoting himself as though he's the peaceful one, while his trucks are running over protesters. Yeah. And, of course, the military brass are going to show their total loyalty. I mean, come on. What else are they supposed to do? Even if they're disloyal to Maduro, they're not going to tell him that to his face.
Right.
When he comes up and says, Senor Alvarez, I need to know if you're behind me on this. And, the general's like, well, yes, of course I am. Even if secretly he's, sabotaging him. Because if you were to say, no, I'm not behind you, the gun comes out and he gets, his brains blasted out, right?
They're just something worse.
Yeah, just to make a point to the other ones. That's like, what would happen.
That's like a great, that's like the best case scenario.
Maduro, or the move was Guaido's boldest effort yet to convince the military to rise up against Maduro. If it fails, it could be seen as evidence that he lacks the support that he says he has. It might also encourage the authorities who have already stripped him of his immunity and opened multiple investigations into him to arrest him. The U.S. is among about 50 countries that are recognizing Guaido as Venezuela's president and has imposed sanctions to try to dislodge Maduro, who they say won re-election last year through fraud. So let's see here. I'm not sure. There's just more of like kind of background and history on the ongoing conflict over there. But this is more than just Guaido calling for military. There are people in the streets. So the people, whether the military is going to turn is another question, but the people are definitely not happy. And there's real conflict happening there right now in Venezuela. If you've got an update, if you want to clue us into this as to we're just scratching the surface. We don't know anything beyond what we can read in the media. If you're in Venezuela, if you can call tonight or any other night this week, please, we'd love to hear from you the story about your perspective on what's happening down there. In related news to this, the Petro. You'd asked about it earlier, Johnson.
Yeah, so you found some information.
There's actually a story published today that headline from ccn.com. It's a cryptocurrency news website.
Okay.
Venezuela's Maduro is running out of time. So is his Petro. And so I'm sure they're going to recap here what has happened with the Petro. There's little appetite for it. Bitcoin seems to be trading feverishly in response to the uprising as investors once again prove they see it as the best crypto option. Venezuelan volume totals on local Bitcoins have reached roughly 36 billion bolivars for the week ending April 27th. That is the highest it has ever been. So this is interesting that when you look at local Bitcoins, which for listeners who aren't familiar is a website on which you can connect with another individual who's willing to sell or purchase Bitcoin from you. And frequently this involves actually meeting somebody in physical reality, but not always. So Local Bitcoins is one of the most interesting sites, not just because you can buy and sell Bitcoins, but because it's a global site. Whereas exchanges, usually they're very restrictive in which countries they're authorized to do business with. If it's a cryptocurrency exchange, like a lot of them won't even accept U.S. customers. If they detect an IP address in the U.S., they're like, nope.
Yeah,
we don't want to do business with you. We're not authorized. We don't have the permission slips, so we're not going to do it. So there's no exchange out there that's really, that I know of, that's like a truly global exchange. Maybe there are, maybe Binance or something like that. But these guys know at Local Bitcoins where their customers are doing business. So they know, they can compare countries to see, which countries are the top locations for Bitcoin purchasing per capita. Looking at charts, so they're showing Venezuela on Local Bitcoins here. This is from the website coin.dance, showing the Bitcoin volume in Venezuela in millions of, it's Bolivar Soberano, which is a newer currency for Venezuela. They knocked 5 zeros off of their Bolivar Fuerte, the so-called strong Bolivar, which is what they knocked 3 zeros off the original Bolivar.
Right.
So they knocked 3 zeros off, made the Bolivar Fuerte, 10 or 12 or however many years ago. And then they knocked 5 zeros off. So just for some perspective on what that means, 500,000 Bolivar became 5 with this new Bolivar Soberano. Anyway, huge numbers on Local Bitcoin starting in January of this year. Shot up, and it's been going up since then, big time. So that's a good sign. People are getting out of the Bolivar and into cryptocurrency. We'll see you tomorrow night. You can join us online in the meantime. freetalklive.com and libertyminded.com.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Ten approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, capitalists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event. Even with coupon code FTL50. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTL50 for a discount. Are you concerned that liberty, free market economics, and the values that made America great are no longer taught in schools? Well, so am I. So I got my son the Tuttle Twins children's book series.
My name is Jack, and I'm 11 years old, and I just started the Tuttle Twins. So far, I have learned that some people can use the government to ruin the economy and destroy people's businesses.
Give all the young people in your life a chance at reason and clear thought, because they're not going to get it at school. There are 9 books in the series, and each one teaches a set of ideas that children aren't getting elsewhere. Go to TuttleTwins.com and use coupon code FTL to get 40% off. Again, that's TuttleTwins.com.